wide world of sports following this telecast. But I can tell you one thing. When the 3-year-olds early in the season get together and at beautiful Hialeah, it is always a tremendous race, and it gives you a good idea what will happen in the wood, and more important, what will happen in the first leg of racing's Triple Crown. That's on Wide World Today, live coverage of the Flamingo Stakes. Now, into the final match worth $10,000 to the winner. Bill Spigner shoots first against Johnny Petraglia. Oh, off and running. 227 in the last game to Dave Davis's 158.
Taking advantage of that angle of attack. He's a little smile on his face, Chris. He knows he lost the ball in a downswing. Petraglia does too. When a bowler gets a break like that, you expect him not to get a strike. But the good straight arm swing of Bill Spigner kept the ball in line and gave him a swisher, blowing the 5 right over in the 7.
That familiar style of left-hander Johnny Petraglia, 30 years old, from Staten Island, New York. And let's look again at the profile of Petraglia.
Johnny been in a mild slump for the last year, and one of the reasons, Chris, is he was dropping his left shoulder too far down. Right now, he's got it up a little higher, his head a little steadier. Low at the line, the good follow through.
All right. Match all even after 1 frame. Pair of strikes. Now trying to double Petraglia. The 7-pin.
Petraglia throws a bigger hook than Davis, Chris, so you can just imagine how sharply that ball's breaking on the last 3 or 4 or 5 feet of the lane. And what Petraglia's doing that Davis wasn't is he's throwing the ball a little harder. We have Johnny on the radar gun at 19 miles an hour. Davis was at 18.
Very coordinated athlete, in high school captain of the bowling team and the gymnastics team, Johnny Petraglia. Wow. The sound of the result of speed. Petraglia, spare in the 2nd, and now up, hoping to double, is Bill Spigner. We have an all East Coast final here in the BPAA United States Open. The double he was looking for.
Spigner, who slides about a foot behind the foul line. Notice where his feet, as opposed to Johnny Petraglia, creeps all the way up to the foul line and lays the ball very short at the line, just a slight loft over the line. But he likes that because he says it makes his ball roll more even on the lane. And an even true roll is what a pro can adjust off of.
Two, 4, 5, 8 for Spigner.
You know, Chris, Larry Lobb lays the ball short on the tour, and Bill Spigner is the one other man on the tour that lays it short, and I ask him why he plays the ball that way.
Well, I roll the ball early because it gives me a more consistent reaction in house to house across the country. I started doing that a couple of years ago, and it worked pretty well for me so far.
Voice of 27-year-old Bill Spigner of Hamden, Connecticut. Okay, covered the bucket. Fine fashion. Spigner, after a double, marks with a spare in the 3rd. Coming from a family that bowls. His dad averages 180, his mother 140, and his sisters 140 and 160.
Johnny Petraglia asking for his 2nd re-rack of the match. A player is only allowed 1 in each game he bowls on national television. Petraglia has already used up 1. He has to ask Harry Golden for a 2nd one, our national tournament director. He was refused. He must shoot the pins as they are.
For Johnny Petraglia of Staten Island.
Quite a break, but pulling the ball all the way over the right side. But, Chris, he only has to miss about a board for that ball to break that much with the hook that he throws. Look where that ball is, and it's going to end up on the right-hander's pocket. Look at that sharp break. Almost looks like a cue ball coming off with English. Actually gets a break off the sideboard.
Looks like my slice.
A pro has to take advantage of breaks like this.
High Point, all the great areas of this beautiful state, Greensboro. And this is the final match in our live coverage of the BPAA United States Open. Bill Spigner defeating Dave Davis in the semifinal after Dave won 2, is going against Johnny Petraglia, trailing by 4, spare working, shooting in the 4th.
Spigner, although being tall, uses up most of the approach, Chris, at the back end of the approach, but when he gets near the foul line, he slides about 8 to 9 inches behind the line. Most pros try to creep right up to the line. Bill Spigner about 8 or 9 inches. Probably a habit he got when he was a little kid. They probably said, stay behind the foul line, and he does.
There's his pop in the check jacket and the colorful shirt. That's Pete Couture, the young lady. I don't know.
One of the employees of Brunswick Friendly Lanes.
I knew you would know.
Come on. Okay, Bill Spigner has to get it back together. He's making the same mistake Davis did. He's starting to get slow. When you are charging for a title, you don't want to throw too hard, but take a tip from Dick Weber. You got to be amped up. These titles are not given to you. You have to win them. That's more like it. You can hear the ball out on the lane, a little extra speed. Cut down the hook.
Now John Petraglia. He has a double working, shooting in the 5th frame. This is a final match worth $10,000.
As Dave Davis
to the
told
winner.
me coming off the lanes, Chris, he said if Petraglia is going to win this match, he must hit this right-hand lane. He says the ball breaks very late, and you have to make a perfect shot to get it in the 1-2 pocket.
Three in a row for Petraglia.
A great shot by Johnny Petraglia, and before we went on, I asked him why the lefties haven't been making too many great shots on the tour this year.
Well, I've been bowling about the same average that I have for the last 5 or 6 years in the low 2 teens, but the scores have been very high this year, and it's been very tough to compete with the right-handers on those kind of conditions.
By he means high, Chris, the scores have been extremely high in most of our tournaments this year. For the right-handers, the lefties are still bowling about the same.
A few years ago.
A slightly younger Johnny Petraglia.
3-time ABC All-American and all New York City Metro twice. Oh, 4-bagger. Hey, speaking of things that come in multiples, Wide World this afternoon, 5 Eastern, Pacific, 4 Central, live coverage of the Flamingo Stakes. Get a good insight on what could happen in the Kentucky Derby, also to be seen here on ABC, along with the Preakness, and then NCAA swimming and diving, and the World Trophy freestyle skiing. Tomorrow, the World Superstars, United States Boxing Championships, and Sunday's Wide World of Sports. Leaving the 10.
A solid 10. Spigner made a great shot to close this match down and close the difference. 26 pins. He has to get on the stick. Petraglia being very aggressive, but not to be. The solid 10. You know, Chris, since in the last 4 weeks, the #1 seed, the tournament leader, has won. Last 3 weeks has won the match, and that's quite a turnaround with our new practice ball rule we've been using on the tour.
Nice smooth coverage of the 10-pin by Bill Spigner of Hamden, Connecticut.
Gary Mage is 52nd at the Firestone Tournament of Champions. He's the last man eligible for this year's Firestone. If Bill Spigner wins today, Gary Mage will go to 53rd spot at the Firestone, and they only have 52. So I don't say he's rooting against him, but I guess he has to root a little bit for Petraglia.
Petraglia, who won the 1971 Firestone Tournament of Champions. Another important strike for Spigner in the 7th frame, 126 through the 6th.